Hello and welcome to this third segment of Max Evans and a Few Friends. For this segment, we're talking with Ollie Reed, who's one of the editors of Max Evans and a Few Friends. So welcome back, Max, and welcome, Ollie.
Thank you, Sherry.
Thank you. We just ended the second segment with Ruthie talking about horses. One of the audience members had asked about For the Love of a Horse, Max's book. And in your chapter in this book, you talk about one of the things that really resonated with you was Max's writing about horses, the story that he wrote about the horse that ran away. And I guess you'd had a similar experience.
Yeah, I can talk about that. My chapter is actually divided into two parts. The first one talks about my years at the Albuquerque Tribune and how I came to know Max writing stories about him there. But then I also talk about how I first discovered Max as a writer, and that was when I was a freshman at the University of Southern Mississippi in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. I grew up in Mississippi, and my grandfather, my mother's dad, had raised cattle there, and so I grew up around horses and cattle. And when in 1965, the movie The Rounders, based on Max's novel, came out, starring Glenn Ford and Henry Fonda. And I knew about that movie. I'd seen it, but I didn't really know where it came from. You know?
Oh, okay.
And so when I was a freshman in college, I found a paperback copy of The Rounders, Max's book, and I started. It was in the dorm room of a friend of mine, so I started reading it. And early in there, he talks about old Fuller running away with one of the cowboys, and I knew right then that Max was the authentic deal, that he knew about what it was like to be on a horse, and also be on a horse you're not in control of. Right. It made me remember when me and my little brother were just kids, so little that our feet wouldn't even reach down to the stirrups. We were riding our horses back to our grandfather's barn, and we made a bad mistake. We decided to race each other. And you never point a horse at a barn and decide to race, because nothing will make them go faster than that.
Right.
They know they're heading home, and when they get there, things are going to get better for them. And so those horses took off so fast for us that we didn't know if we were going to live to see the end of it. There's a drainage ditch that runs right in front of my grandfather's barn, and those horses jumped that ditch and then came to a dead stop right in front of the gate. I was surprised to find I was still sitting upright in the saddle after that. My little brother was younger than me, 3 years younger. I looked over at his horse, and he's hanging off the side of it, just hanging on to the saddle horn. And so I jumped down and ran over there and grabbed him and helped him down. But I knew that whoever had written that book, and it was Max, knew about horses and that life. Exactly. And not only that, I discovered right off that movie was a funny movie, and I knew why, because Max was a funny writer too. So he knew about cowboys, and he knew about writing funny, and that made him one of my favorite writers right off.
Wow. Max, have you had horses run away with you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me too. It's really frightening.
Yeah, I've had horses do just about everything they can do to you. Mm-hmm. I've had them fall on me and kick me and work their lives out for me. Mm-hmm. You know, they get to loving you just like you do them, oddly enough. Most people don't realize that, or they over-dramatize it. Mm-hmm. But it's a respect between you and the horse. Mm-hmm. It doesn't take a horse. They're a lot smarter than people think. It doesn't take them very long to know where you're at, what you are, how you feel about them. Do you know how to work them? And work with them? Mm-hmm. And there's all kinds of wondrous things just with a little horse that can happen to you. You can gain great knowledge from a horse. And for instance, if you're just going out looking for an old cow in brush or timber where you can't see and it's hard, all you have to do is watch the horse's ears. Ah. And you learn to watch their ears, because they'll point every time. They'll point. They hear a lot better than we do. Mm-hmm. And they smell a lot better. They can find a cow in brush where you can't possibly see them. Mm. And It's just a lot of, it's endless, the wonder of a horse. And the beauty, hey, they're really beautiful animals.
Yes, yes, they are. So let's ask the audience if you have questions for Ollie or Max. Darren?
So this question's for Max. I just want to know, you have a lot of friends. So how many more books do you think you could have written?
Max Evans and a few friends.
And a few friends type of books.
I think there's 27 of us in this book, and already we found people who would have liked to have contributed to it that aren't in the book. So yeah, we could do another one.
Could easily. We'll do one for Max's 100th birthday.
That's what we got planned right now.
Right, sounds good. Other questions? Laura?
It was actually sort of a follow-up from the question someone else asked about the first book about Max, and there were stories that weren't in that book. Is there plans for a follow-up on that book?
So that would have been Slim. Can you pass the mic to Slim and Slim can answer that question? Do you plan to do a follow-up to the biography, All Max Evans?
Well, just like with Madam Millie, we have to wait for a lot of people to die first. But yes, there are plans. Seriously.
Okay. Other questions? Yes, can you stand up, please?
Mr. Evans, I read in the book about you still wishing to have a clean calf roping, kind of that would be like a perfect calf roping incident. I was wondering if you still ride, and do you ever get up to the TO East, or do you have plans to get back up to that country?
No, I write about the whole world, really. But you see, like I write about the high-low country, about half of my work. But to me, the high-low country represents the entire world. I found every emotion and every form of life that I can find anywhere else. I've read Balzac, and I've read classics by the hundreds in my life. I was a born reader, and my mother had taught me to read before I ever started school. So I look at everything in a country, and everything in the high-low country, just the northeast quadrant of New Mexico. I found everything else is in the world, and I've been around quite a bit of the world. It's what you look at and what you see, what you observe, what you taste, what you smell.
Do you also get to ride still? Ride horses still?
No,
No,
No.
that's done.
no, ma'am.
How about you, Wally?
You know, it's been a few years since I've been on a horse, but yeah, there were several years in a row where I rode the Billy the Kid trail ride from Lincoln to Fort Sumner.
Wow.
One year was 169 miles, so that was for first one was for a story I wrote about the Tribune. I'll tell you a story. And Max says he's had a horse do just about everything to him, including roll over him. I was interviewing him one time, and of course he's talking about how he writes longhand. He said he couldn't even use a typewriter anymore because his hand had been busted 11 times, you know.
Wow.
So I knew Max had liked to have fist fights in bars every once in a while. In fact, more than every once in a while. So I said, Max, did you break that hand all those times on other people's heads? And he said, no, the first time a horse rode over it.
Whoa, whoa.
No, the inference being that the other 10 times, yeah, people's heads were in the way. Anyway.
So on that note, on that,
Let me say something about old Ollie. He's talking about that trail ride he made. He did beautiful, beautiful articles, full-page articles for the Tribune on those trail rides. I've always tried to talk him into making a collection out of them, but he's kind of a modest guy, and they're kind of rare.
I'm kind of a lazy guy.
Well, they go together.
okay. On that note, I want to thank you both for joining us for this segment of Arts Talk, and thank you, the audience, for tuning in for these 3 segments on Max Evans and a Few Friends. Thank you.